ridiculously lazy. As you said yourself, you know.
Look at your hair. You haven't cut it in like 20 years.
Yeah. You know, it's ridiculous because I have scissors. I have them.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, there's probably some in the studio.
There may even be some in the studio, and I think Eric's going to try to chase me down and cut some of this shit off my head. But your comedy strikes me as very New York. It's very, you know, but like in that cool kind of style, you know what I mean? Like it's very modern and up to date. How does it go over in different parts of the country? You know, I mean, like where have you gone to where you're like, all right, I'm playing fucking Topeka tonight. There's no way that people are going to dig my shit.
It's funny because I've even had that feeling like I'm in a different part of the country. Shit, I've had that feeling in Westchester.
And I can see why, because again, you get a visual of the town that you're in.
Yeah.
You know, like I've worked in Westchester, I've driven through Westchester, I've been chased out of Westchester, and you're like, I'm nowhere, like I don't belong here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
So
wow, everyone in this fucking crowd has a wedding ring and like a gigantic wallet full of like high credit card limits and like just cash and like. They look like they have slept 8 hours. I don't know. Like, I felt like a lot of times, like, these people are not going to, like, have any shared experiences with me, which is where, in that case, crowd work is your savior.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can talk to people for long enough and have them kind of, like, quickly fall in love with you, they'll be on the ride for your kind of, like, slutty stories or, like, things that they can't, you know, but if you it's funny, because if you, like, talk to the old dude, like, but if you were still in the game, man, you would get, you know what I mean? Like, if you kind of give it to them, like, make them sound cool.
right.
Kind of, like, give the audience credit. And they're also, like, you know, keep in mind, they're smarter than you think they are a lot of the time.
See, and I believe that, too. I really do believe that, because, like, you listen to people complain, and it's like, come on, man, it's still too that. Like, the advent of the internet made the world a lot smaller. If you were touring with your comedy in the late 80s, it might have been a different ballgame.
They'd be like, look at this 5-year-old doing comedy.
And
It's
she's hilarious. Where does she get these F words from? Her parents must be drug addicts.
Yeah. They'd be like, oh, she needs so many gummies. But, like,
And look at all those bottles on stage.
yeah. They're like the little Bailey's bottles. I legit had some little Baileys in my coffee this morning because it's from an Easter basket. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Nobody's around. The weekend starts today.
Fantastic. There's nothing like getting your drink on a Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock.
Just a little bit.
It doesn't show that you have a problem at all.
No, it's just...
has anybody ever asked you to temper what you do? Or maybe, you know, dial it down a notch, per se?
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't been heckled much, but the first time I was heckled, I was doing a show in Westchester, and I was telling a joke about, like, getting choked in the bedroom or something like that.
Sexy.
And like, this woman in the front row, you know, she's typical Westchester, cardigan, 40s, white, drunk. And she just mumbled something. I'm like, what did you say? She's like, I think you're an asshole. And I was like, okay. I was like, oh my God, heckle registered, you know. It was like, 10 points, you know. And then I was like, oh my God, this is the first time this is happening. What do I say? And then I'm like, this sounds like, you think I'm like, oh, this woman just said I'm an asshole. And I was like, this sounds like a woman who's been choked recently. Like, we did pretty well, which got her more pissed. But, like, the thing to do when you get heckled is to endear yourself to the rest of the table. Like,
right.
You have to make everyone at her table, like, quickly fall in love with you. You know, like, that's your support, because she feels, like, less and less righteous, I guess. And then I just was being, like, extra sweet the whole rest of the time. I was like, you'll like this next porn joke. I just was being like, come on. I'm like, you're friends, and I'm sure that's your husband. He's laughing, right? Like, can't be that bad. And I could tell, like, you know, and I've actually heard people say, like, even my boyfriend's dad, he likes me better now, and because he's seen me do clean sets.
Right.
But in the beginning, I got the feeling, and I've experienced this from other people. When you see, like, somebody who looks and sounds like me get on stage, you have a certain expectation of things I'm going to say and not say. And when I'm dirtier than that, it's like, I know that it's a disappointment to some people. Like, maybe some older people or more traditional people.
Right.
They just don't want to hear somebody like me, like, talk about, like, not that I'm all that dirty, but they don't want to talk about, like, the idea that I've slept with a dozen plus people.
And that was just last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a good weekend. But it's just certain topics. Like, they don't want to hear about, like, the idea of getting waxed, or they don't want to hear, like, the idea of getting your butthole bleached. Like, to certain people, like, just a topic alone, like, oh, I didn't want to hear that coming out of that girl, you know? Like, but then, God, what does that leave me with, you know? Like, man, I baked a real shitty batch of cookies.